The most frightful blunder I've made for years, dear. The man's a crock, Ellie. A brisk walk up to the thinking post and he was all but done in.
Nerves, too.
He's got no degree, no experience. He comes from a Welsh mining valley and he's sure to rub all the other fellows up the wrong way. Inexperienced and arrogant, oh dear, oh dear. I have been irresponsible. He's an idealist, Ellie.
Oh, I could tell that.
Well, there are not many of those about.
You see yourself in him, don't you?
No, dear, of course I don't.
You think he's another idealistic eccentric, but I say, what if he's just another nervous wreck?
Well, he'll be teaching the lower fourth, so we shan't have to wait long to find out.
Oh, good heavens, that is taking a header into the deep end. Couldn't you find a way of easing him in more gently, Alfie?
Oh, dear, he'll get by. We can't do it for him. Anyway, I'm trusting my instinct. And I'm glad you like him, too. Oh, now for a jolly good sleep. You're done. You're done.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. Sit down. Now, I understand that with Mr. Egerton, that with Mr. Egerton... Would you like to say something to the class? Would you?
No, sir.
Good. All right. Now, I understand that you were studying, or were about to study, the causes of the Civil War. Am I right? Well, I imagine that you're not so deeply immersed in the subject that a little revision wouldn't come amiss. I take it that you prefer oral revision. Or shall we make it a written test? Well, I'd been led to believe that you were a talkative class. Put your hands up if you prefer a written test. Good. I'd prefer oral revision too. Now, G.M. Trevelyan, I'm sure you've all heard of him. G.M. Trevelyan thinks that the first Civil War was the decisive event in English history. Not one of the decisive events, but the decisive event. Well, would you agree with him? Dobson. Where's Dobson? Would you stand up, please? Would you agree with him?
I don't know, sir.
No opinion, Dobson? No opinion at all?
No, sir.
You have done something on the Civil War, have you?
Well, sort of, sir.
I see. Sort of. Well, what were Mr. Egerton's views on the Civil War? Presumably, if he didn't invite your opinions, he favoured you with his own. Did he, Dobson?
Not exactly, sir.
Then how did he tackle it?
Well, he sort of stood where you're standing now and shouted for us to be quiet.
Through choking us, sir.
And ran out of the room, sir.
I see. Thank you. Thank you. Be quiet. Well, I'm afraid you're going to have to do a bit of thinking. I'm sorry if you're not used to it. Well, let's start with a question that you can answer, Dobson. Which side was victorious in the Civil War? King or Parliament? Come along, boy.
Parliament, sir.
Thank you, Dobson. Oh, sit down. Well, let's try a new way to work round to my original question. Now, let us just suppose that Parliament hadn't won. What would have happened if Charles had won? Or what sort of country would we be living in now? Yes, you. Well, come along.
Well, that's not history, sir.
No. No, perhaps it isn't. But that's a big question. What is history, do you suppose?
Things that really happened.
Well, that's right. And who says what happened?
The history books, of course, sir.
And who writes them? Not you or me, eh?
No, sir.
Nor Charles I either. The history that we read tends to be written by the winners. Well, you can all see that that's true, can't you? If the Royalists had been victorious, well, they'd have written the history of the war. And we wouldn't just be reading different facts, we'd be reading about how valuable and essential the Royalist victory was. Just as the history of the war that we're engaged in now will be written by the country that wins it. We may think that we know the truth now, but our descendants will... History textbooks like this will...
It's Boyce, sir. I think he's having a fit, sir. It's all right, sir. I know what to do.
He doesn't, sir.
Take him to matron, sir.
Put a spoon in his mouth.
No, wait a minute.
No, it's all right, sir. Really, sir. I'm his friend. He's had them before. Oh, that's it, sir. He always does that, sir. I'm going to have to loosen his collar and drag him over to the window.
He doesn't, sir.
Now, wait.
Sir, he's possessed. He's got the strength of 10 men, sir.
All right, be quiet! Now get back to your places! Move!
I was only trying to help, sir.
Get up, Boyer. Well, that's quite a performance. Oh, you're very good. You are. It's that partner of yours that lets you down. Well, look at him. I mean, he's hopeless, man. I've seen better actors in performing dog acts. All right. I think it's only fair to warn you, though, that I'm familiar with all the forms of hysteria there are. In fact, I'm an expert, see? I spent the last 7 months in shell-shock wards. I know what the real thing's like. Feeling a bit better now than are you, Boyer?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's good. All right, sit down. Well, having started, I might as well be frank with you. This is my first go at teaching. Teaching schoolboys.